The views expressed in the following podcast are so poorly thought out, they were designed by Russian automotive engineers.
Hey, what is problem? Many car only get two highway, one city.
They do not represent the views of our friends, family, employers, or our sober selves.
You no need windscreen. Tarp is fine for you.
Judging by those Russian dashcam videos, our show is just as much of a wreck.
Interior is real leather. You didn't specify what animal, so is your problem.
Your mileage may vary. Welcome to Two and Change. The people are real, the drinking is real, and the opinions, unfortunately, are also real. On today's show, we discuss
how screwed I am.
Well, sort of. The Ontario government is slashing tuition and repayment assistance to low-income Ontario university students.
But first, we discuss...
Look, university was absolutely the best 12 years of my life. It's not my fault that they make the classes so damn hard.
Should have thought about that before you majored in welfare leeching and paid protesting, Josh.
Hey, that's not fair.
And yeah, protesting and anarchy 101 had a very low pass rate. My BS degree was hard won, thank you.
Wait, that's a Bachelor of Science?
Socialism.
But first, we discuss the continuing effects of the government shutdown. TSA, FDA, FCC, all the acronyms in the U.S. are shut down over the border fight. 800,000 people without a paycheck.
Oh man, that's almost as much as I owe on my student loans.
Come on, it's not that bad.
Yeah, at least you didn't get a degree in music or something.
Fair point.
Welcome to And Change. I'm Josh, and I am drinking a Mill Street Organic Lager, which is, you know, on the mediocre scale, happily mediocre. I always like it.
It's the exact same beer he was drinking last time. No, like the exact same beer.
Yeah, exact same beer.
Exact.
And speaking of
No.
branching out,
Yeah, it's an aged Mill Street Organic.
He's really
I just
nursing
peeled
it.
the crust off of it. It's fine.
everything's good. Yeah.
Good.
Well, speaking of not branching out, I am also again drinking the old Canadian dirty man. What is it called? Old Liquorman's Dirty Canadian Whiskey.
Liquorman's Old Dirty Canadian Whiskey.
Mixed with Diet Coke.
You are a
again.
trooper for drinking. And this is Tim.
We've fully converted you.
Well, I am mixing it with Diet Coke to make it drinkable.
That's even more converted. When you started the show, you were Scotch or nothing.
I was like a Scotch, not just Scotch, single malt Scotch,
Single
minimum
malt.
12 years.
And now you're like, this shitty whiskey. I'll drink it.
This is like amber-covered colored rubbing alcohol.
We've brought you down like 12 classes.
Yes, no kidding. Yeah, I've gone to drinking basically trailer trash.
Next stage is, I think this is moonshine.
I'll
And of
drink it.
course, this is Tim. I'm drinking the same thing as last time as well. Johnny Walker Black Label with the Splash of Club Soda. Man, we are getting into some patterns here.
Yeah, you know what? This is actually recorded on a different day. It's not even
Yeah,
like
I
it's
know,
recorded
right?
the same day.
Are we
It's
getting
weird.
old?
Apparently.
We're getting old. Yeah. Anyway, so welcome to Two and Change. This is the show where basically three Canadian drinking buddies get together with extremely different political backgrounds. Well, sort of. Basically, it works out to like this. Tim and Josh are wrong. I'm right. And we discuss how that happens.
Well, I like the part where Tim's wrong.
There you go.
I'm not sure this is any better. At least you didn't describe us as the whitest people for the whitest listeners.
Neon white. No. We are three Canadian drinking buddies. We get together and discuss how Tim and Josh are wrong.
And then you brought up the whiteness.
I guess
so
this
this one is totally on you. On you, Tim.
All right, so just want to our first topic here. So we're going to talk about the shutdown. I know it's been going on for a bit. We've been avoiding it, but you know what? I don't think we can avoid it because it's such a big news item. So obviously this has had a drastic effect on the livelihoods of hundreds of thousands of people who work for the U.S. government.
Yep.
Working for a month without a paycheck can't be easy, no matter how much you have in the bank. I mean, with no end in sight, I think they're kind of the ultimate victims in this because they're actually being forced to work. A lot of them being forced to work without a paycheck, which I thought was slavery.
Is slavery.
But now we're going to start seeing the other effects. So food stamps are going to go out. Low-income students, medical research is stopping. FDA food inspections are. I'm not going to be buying any U.S. meat for the next little bit.
Didn't you buy green American chicken the other day?
I didn't know it was an American, and I didn't know it was green until I chopped in. It's like, oh, green chicken. Interesting. No, I'm not going to do that at the grocery store.
Well, it tells me
I
that the
chopped
FDA is probably not doing a fantastic job anyway.
Well, it's actually safe and legal to do green meat.
green meat. Yeah, okay, fine, I guess.
Yeah, but I've switched. Well, I'm doing free run eggs now,
All right.
and we're buying our meats, our chicken elsewhere. So
He rolls all of his eggs downhill.
Yeah.
Before he eats.
Exactly.
So he rolls them down the driveway, and then he
Free
basically
range.
and then he gets them and puts them in the
Yeah.
thing.
yep, perfect, very free range.
Yeah, very free range.
I don't know. So I guess we've all been following the shutdown on
We
the
have.
news. Okay, so I guess the first question is are the Democrats right not to blink, or is Trump? Is this going to be an effective tactic? You think?
On whose side?
This is
The
a big-
Democrat-
I don't know.
'cause
I don't know what
they're
to
both,
say.
They're both playing a game of chicken at this point. Like it's crazy what they're doing here.
Well, no. One's playing chicken. The other one's playing chicken fucker. That's different.
Okay, fine.
I think
Trump
one's
is playing chicken fucker.
No, I think one's playing both, chicken and chicken fucker.
Yeah.
The other ones are going. I don't know how to. They're both. I don't know how to. What? They're
I don't
chicken
know
and
about
chicken.
fucking no chicken.
like to me, there's a couple of elements here.
One's
One,
just the rancher going. That chicken's fucked up. I don't know.
There's apparently a bunch of people who are working here who have basically been told that once the shutdown ends, that they're going to be given retro pay. And the last time the government shut down, that did not happen.
They weren't shut down for this long.
No, they
This
weren't.
is well, people were not furloughed for this long either.
That's
so
true.
The last shutdown, even the one under Clinton, that was like 21 days. I think the workers were only furloughed for like 3 of those days.
Yeah.
They managed to fund and keep the workers in place. They
Yeah.
just shut down other government
So we're at like
functions.
what 20.
28
By the
days.
time this airs, over a month. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Oh, actually, over a month. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as of airing, so this is Friday the 18th. So I think we're at day 28 actually.
Yeah.
And the worst part is that this is basically they're usurping the Trump and all are usurping how the Constitution is supposed to work. The legislation brings up bills. The idea of the tactic of being able to shut down the government to rule by the tyranny of the minority was nothing the U.S. framers had in mind.
It's all legal. What they're doing is legal.
Oh, it's
Surprise!
technically.
Yeah.
It's sort of like that Family
Trump
Guy.
happened.
There's that Family Guy episode where the guy pulls down his pants and rubs his ass on a counter, and yells, "Not breaking the law, not breaking the law. Show me the law, show me the law." That's what he's doing. He's like taking his pants off, rubbing a Constitution, showing the Constitution where I can't rub my ass against the Constitution.
Fair enough. But what I'm saying is, let's say, so as regards to the 800,000 roughly people who are working without pay, is it slavery? Yes, it's slavery. And I have sympathy for a lot of them, not the TSA, but I have a lot of sympathy for...
Hey, look, they're still, regardless of what you think of the TSA, at
Yeah.
the end of the day, there's still people just trying to get a paycheck.
Okay, fine.
You can have sympathy for the worker without having sympathy for the organization.
And even then, you took a job working for a criminal organization, but whatever. It's fine. In regards
I see Josh twitching a
Yeah.
little.
I have my problems with the TSA, but I wouldn't call them a criminal organization.
Criminally incompetent, yes.
Yeah, that I might say.
criminally
yes.
incompetent and needlessly invading the privacy of people, and like we have other examples of like proper airport security done, like for example, if you look at the way that Israeli airports are done, that's so much more effective because you don't look at people's bags, you look at the peephole, because that's
Yeah,
where you
like
find,
the
you know-
like they have that whole like look that they look in the eyes.
exactly, and they're trained to look at that, and they're very effective.
But they
very
also
effective.
they also have, things like actual like suicide bombers and stuff they have to really be worried about.
Yeah.
I'm more worried about Al Cracker in the US, not Al Qaeda. So
Well, but if you look at the people
I
who
didn't
are
coin
like,
that. That's a Chris Rock thing.
but if you look at the people who are getting on these planes and the stuff that they're not allowed to bring on the planes in the first, like a water bottle, really, a water bottle. Oh, but it might be a bomb. Like nothing. About
I
it
asked a friend of mine who's a chemist about that. He said it's a bunch of bullshit. You would have to cryogenically stabilize the elements, first of all.
Yeah.
You can't just like pour two liquids together and make a boom.
No.
Even in Die Hard 3, they had like a big fucking machine to do
Oh,
that.
there's liquids you can pour together that'll make a big boom.
Yeah, but they have to be under special laboratory conditions or some sort of mechanical device. Yes.
You can't bring two plastic water bottles full of said liquids.
They don't have to necessarily.
You can't pour two
They
sport
don't
drinks together
necessarily
to make
have
boom.
to be boom. They can be extremely incendiary. That's all you need in a plane.
Well, you can also just
It's
like
pressurized. Keep that in mind.
But the TSA basically got
If it
all of
was-
this power because of 9/11.
And besides, what if you had like 3 people? All of a sudden, that's 3 1-ounce bottles of liquid. Oh my God. Is that
Exactly.
the magic number?
Yeah, like who's
it's
not
like,
right?
Jesus.
It's stupid. Basically,
They
if
shouldn't
you
allow
wanna-
Mountain Dew on
if you-
planes. Have you seen people who drink
No, that's
Mountain?
incendiary.
Like give a little, like give like a 14-year-old kid a whole thing of Mountain Dew on a plane. That's a bomb.
No,
in a
that-
sense.
That's a terrorist action.
Yeah,
right there.
Yes, and their parents should be beaten severely.
There it is. Yeah. No, but like after 9/11, they did what they needed to do to secure aircraft. They reinforced the cockpit door. That's what you needed to do.
That was enough.
That was enough. Nothing else was needed.
And after 9/11, look at the couple other attempts. So you had the shoe bomber and the underwear bomber and a few other hijacking attempts. Guess what happened?
What's
the
up?
TSA did not stop
It's
them.
all clothing item. The shoe bomber, the belt bomber, the necklace
Okay.
bomber.
The shoe bomber was stopped by airport security. He did not make it onto the plane. He was stopped by not by American airport security. I
Right.
think it was Brussels he got stopped in.
Yeah.
The underpants bomber was not stopped by the TSA because he was flying into the U.S., I think, if I remember correctly. I might be. But I'm more like, what was the passenger reaction?
The passengers were the ones who put stops to those attacks.
Yeah, I mean, do you think after 9/11, any passenger is going to cooperate with a hijacker?
No, of course not.
No.
Because it used to be the case that if you cooperate with the hijacker, they might let you go. After 9/11, that was
Fuck that.
Exactly. Yeah. If the plane gets hijacked, you're dead. You are absolutely dead.
That's
so
right.
It gives you a much greater motivation to fight back. You get the whole, let's roll kind of attitude.
Yeah, that was what, United 93?
Yeah, 93, where they took it down.
And they made a nice little exploitive film about that. Tragedy porn, I like to call it.
Yeah, exactly.
Tragedy porn. Yeah, that's all. That's.
They did make a
American
nice exploitive
pastime.
film out of that, didn't
Yeah,
they?
tragedy porn.
Tragedy porn. Yeah.
So
made a
back
killing
to,
too.
So now that we've run this large tangent on the TSA, let's get back to the subject at hand, which is the
Ooh.
actual
government shutdown.
So here's my take on it. Is
All right.
I was dying to know your take on this, Josh.
yeah, I'm sure you were. I'm sure you were just dying. I'm sure you just completely.
I was sitting on my hands,
you were
waiting
doing
for
your own,
every word.
You're doing your own version of government shutdown just to avoid my answer. Okay,
right.
you can filibuster all you want. It's not going to change anything.
Okay.
So I'm still going to state my opinion.
Speaking of chicken fucking, go ahead, Josh.
Yeah,
Exactly. So here's my opinion. I think Nancy Pelosi is dealing with batshit crazy in a way that I don't think any sort of House representative or senator has ever had to deal with. So I think she's flying blind to some extent. And I think she's doing a fairly good job in all fairness, given the crazy ass shit she's having to deal with that is Trump. The real thing that's going to be interesting to play out is partly how long this shutdown is going to be. If he's going to do the emergency powers, because I think he's going to try this ruling by decree thing.
By the time this airs, so there was an announcement the real Donald Trump made on Twitter saying that 3 p.m. on Saturday, so that would have been last Saturday by the time you're listening to this, he's going to have a major announcement about the border wall. He's saying the humanitarian crisis at the border, which is largely manufactured thanks to the fact that this fucker's locking children in cages.
Sure.
But the whole thing is manufactured first and foremost.
To be real for a minute, though, on both sides.
No,
No,
not on both
not
sides.
even fucking close. Like this is manufactured from one side.
This isn't a both sides are bad, so
There's
vote
a-
Republican
there's
situation.
there's a lot of both sides are bad. This particular issue, while there's issues around
Border
immigration,
security,
border
whatever,
security, and
yeah.
stuff that are problems, this quote unquote crisis is 100%.
Don't forget, this shutdown started before the Democrats took control of the House.
What?
Yes, this did not start with the
No,
Democrats.
they couldn't get it through the. They couldn't get it through
They
the
couldn't get
Republican
through the
House.
Republican majority House and Senate.
Oh.
They couldn't even get it through his own party would support this.
This is chicken fuckery to the max.
The Republicans own this. In fact, Mitch McConnell, turtle fucker himself, I keep saying fucker a lot. I've been told that I need to stop saying fuck so much on the show.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
fucking care.
Yeah, I don't fucking care. So he won't even call a clean bill for a vote because, well, I want something the president will sign. It's the fucking complicit little shit he is. Anyway,
So here's my other thing. I think
I can get stopped in the border now.
I'll be
I probably was gonna anyway.
some
That's
people
an
will get
inside.
that.
That's an inside joke.
Yeah.
for
So,
somebody else.
anyways, what I think he's going to try to flex his emergency powers because Donald Trump, being he, is going to have to basically double down on the stupid at this point. He's sort of trapped himself in a hole,
Yeah.
Whether by his own design or by his own demagoguery or fuckery, I don't know.
Yeah.
But he's going to try to do the emergency powers.
Yep.
And
he's going to get laughed out of court, and he's going to shut. He's going to be like a pigeon playing chess. No matter what happens, no matter how good of a player you are, the pigeon's just going to knock over the pieces and shit on the board and strut around like you won.
Yeah.
That's
what's going to happen.
Here's a scenario that plays out in my head, and I don't know. I'm not saying like it's something that would ever happen, but here he tries to do emergency powers, And this thing with the criminal stuff, they try to indict him somehow, or they try to impeach him, and he just refuses to leave. So he's trying to use his emergency powers, and then he just starts ruling by decree and telling people to defy the law. And every time someone's arrested, he just uses his immunity powers to everyone arrested that defies him. And there's no constitutional.
The state can that doesn't apply to states.
Well, it doesn't apply. It applies to individuals, though.
Yep. No, but doesn't apply to a state. Doesn't apply to a state charge. So if I am arrested for a crime by the state of New York, let's say, which the president has no jurisdiction to pardon me for a state charge.
Okay.
Only federal.
Okay.
That's a good balance. I didn't know that existed.
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, the president has only the governor can pardon a state charge. That's why everyone's really excited about the New York Attorney General. Anyway, Mike, we're getting towards the end of the segment, so I think I'd give you a little bit of a wrap up here because you really haven't expressed much of your opinion on this.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is a gong show. It's a dog's breakfast, the whole thing. Well, I think Donald Trump might get his wall. He might. I think that this is one of those things where they might have to capitulate to this guy and give it to him. I hope they don't, because it's a colossal waste of money. A mass majority of the illegal immigration is people who come on legal temporary work visas and then stay past the expiration date of the visa, and that's how they become illegal immigrants. This idea of people just marching across the border in migrant caravans and stuff like that is, if it's a contributing factor at all, it's not a big one. So the wall is not effective as a border security measure.
No. It's a big, as John Oliver once put it, it's a big dumb thing that just makes dumb people feel safe. That's all it is.
Like the TSA.
Yeah, well, there you go.
A big dumb thing that makes dumb people feel safe. That was another Republican.
Or the Coast Guard.
Well, the Coast Guard actually, shut up. The Coast Guard actually does stuff. Anyway.
They stopped some drugs, about 10% of them coming in.
Anyway, we're going to take a quick break here. I didn't realize we were so anti-Coast Guard on the show.
We're not.
We love you, Coasties.
Thank you for your service.
Yes, we'll see you soon. Well, no, not the Coast Guard, but...
yeah, I was just going, what are you planning, Tim?
By the sea. You're listening to Two and Change, a show where Tim can cut any microphone he wants.
Wait, what is he talking about?
Check out our website, twoandchange.ca, for all the latest episodes, blog posts, and of course, the dulcet tone of my pleasing baritone voice. And welcome back to the second half of Two and Change.
Hey guys, you know what time it is?
Tool time?
No, weekly what the f***. So you at home know how this works. We take all our favorite WTF news from the week and pick some of our favorites to share with you, the listener.
It's also the only time on the show I feel comfortable saying fuck, because I know Tim will censor it on editing.
Nope. And we thought we were the whitest people on the planet. So according to NPR, someone actually decided to set up an iPod and a bunch of speakers to play Africa by Toto in the deserts of Namibia. It's going to take a lot of drinking to get me away from you.
I think that's how colonialism
There's
started.
nothing that 100 shots or more could ever do.
I miss my brain cells.
Down in Africa.
There you go.
And when YouTube decides it's enough, you know we've failed as a society. YouTube is now banning dangerous challenges on the popular video sharing site like the Tide Pod Challenge or the Bird Box Driving Challenge. And yes, that's a thing.
Darwin approves.
You can't ban stupid. Hamburger.
Okay.
Hamburger.
I think he's talking about Trump inviting the Clemson basketball team.
Go Tigers.
Right, yeah. To the White House to serve fast food.
Hamburger.
And I think he misspelled hamburger when he tweeted about it later.
Hamburger.
Aww.
In an effort to save marriages everywhere, Ars Technica reported this week on a device that is supposed to detect fart development in real time. Sort of a distant early warning system, if you will.
Great Rush song.
Neil Peart is a treasure.
We are so Canadian.
And finally, on the heels of the last episode about the new breathalyzer standards in Canada,
Twitch.
we have some good news from the U.S. The local police in Kutztown, Pennsylvania, are asking for volunteers to get drunk to assist the local police with sobriety testing.
We should totally do that.
Unfortunately, Tim, they had all the volunteers they needed, and then some more within a matter of minutes.
This does present an interesting legal defense. Officer, I wasn't driving drunk. I was participating in a training exercise.
Okay, so that's it for this week's What the News. Remember to join us every week for that. And Josh, time for topic 2, your favorite topic.
Oh, yeah.
So, the land of fuckery, also known as Ontario, it's been
Good thing.
It's-
Fuck
I
me,
mean,
oh, Ontario.
Yeah, exactly. That's the official rebranding song. And
We don't want to be too local.
They're open. They're open for
Province-wide.
they're open for business, except unless you want to get educated, then you can't afford it.
Well,
because,
education is not a human right, Josh.
actually,
Oh, that's a whole different podcast.
actually, it is.
When you say education is a human right, you are saying that therefore it is the right to have somebody else pay for it, which is a form of theft. Or, if you like it this way, if education is a human right, you can force someone to give education without being paid for it. That's a form of slavery.
I'm not even going to
You know what?
dignify that.
I'm going to take off my headphones. I'm just going to step out of the room. You guys.
Libertarian versus socialist, round 1. Ding!
I ain't going to moderate this one.
Oh, this is so. Back to
Tell me how taxes aren't a theft, Mr. Six Children.
Yeah, well, hey, the fact that they're giving money away doesn't mean I'm not going to take it. I mean, shoot.
Okay. So here's the thing that happened. So in their non-infinite wisdom, they have taken a system that is, well, I grant it, has some flaws for sure. Sure. But they've some flaws. And they've taken the OSAP system. For those who are out of Ontario and don't know, OSAP is Ontario's Secondary Assistance Plan or some program.
Student Assistance Program.
It's
College university
It's
loans.
FAFSA in the States. It's student loan program for the province of Ontario.
Dollar bills, y'all. There you go.
Exactly. So what they've done is one of the terrible things they've taken out is they've taken the interest free grace period right after the school loans, which makes no sense because even banks give you like 2 years.
Well,
So
Not
I
exactly.
don't agree with it. But the rationale is that it's not that the interest was free. The Ontario government was paying it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Let's be precise
disagree with
here.
you,
Well,
we're
that's-
just saying being precise.
yeah,
that's
fair
all.
enough. And that's one of the problems. I mean, I personally have always had with OSAP that it's ran by a secondary bank like that. I think if you're gonna loan out money as a government, you loan it out at zero interest.
I guarantee you, tuition would be a lot lower if they had to loan the money out themselves.
Yeah, they would.
I
right?
dispute that. Like,
Dispute it.
I do. I dispute it. I do not think
Hotly.
tuition would be lower if they
Hi, United States of America is called. They would love to charge you $45,000 a year for their education. That's subpar
It's
to
still-
Canadians.
which is loaned out by government money.
No, it's not.
No,
There's
it's
all
back-
kinds of government money being
It's
loaned out
not
to students.
okay. Look, loans. Let's be clear what we're talking about here. Okay,
Right.
There's two different kinds of general assistance. Without even going into across the border, there's
Sure.
loans. There's grants. Okay.
Yes.
Grants are
Non-repayable.
non-repayable gifts, let's say.
Sure.
They come from a lot of different sources. A lot of them come from the government, but they also come from private organizations.
Sure. Some people call them
Loans.
scholarships.
Yeah. Now, the Canadian government does not loan you money. The U.S. government does not loan you money. Who loans you money is a third party, a bank. The U.S. government or the Canadian government, in this case the province of Ontario, acts as a guarantor on the loan. You don't see it. It's loaned all completely administered. Now, prior to, I think, 2000, you were borrowing the money directly from the bank. That's how it worked. You applied through the government, then you got a loan through Scotiabank or RBC, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
The government decided this was inefficient. RBC or Royal Bank Canada, for other listeners, Scotiabank, TD, all the other banks, are still loaning you the money, and they are still taking their cut. The difference is the government is co-signing the loan, and they are administering the loan so you don't see it. That is how it works.
There's all sorts of
You don't.
rules
You
and
look
red
like you
tape
don't
and-
believe me.
I'm just
That's legit how it.
That's
now
legit
it's
how it
not. It's not
works.
TD and RBC. It's a specific bank that's created.
Yeah,
that's
probably
you
probably
get
National
that, yeah.
Bank. They would be.
No.
It sounds like they're
No, it's a whole different. It's a whole different bank. It's its own bank that's
Like-
owned by shareholders. Don't get me started. It's
Wait,
it's
there's
complete
a
scam.
bank out there that does nothing but government-backed guaranteed loans, and it can be owned by. What's their stock ticker?
I was going to say.
This sounds like a ridiculously profitable enterprise.
It's pretty rigged. And
Can we start one?
So
yeah, right.
I'll do that.
So that's a fundamental flaw of this. One of the fundamental flaws of this program. The other thing, the other thing that conservatives are cutting. So let's get
Okay.
to what else
Okay.
what they're doing. Their solution is, quote unquote, cutting tuition fees down by 10% across the board. which is going to
Doesn't sound like a flaw.
Yeah.
No,
walk me through why that's a bad idea.
I know where you're going, but why don't you explain why this is a flaw?
So to cut tuition rates across the board 10% without giving any sort of other income to these universities and colleges,
Yeah.
you're forcing them to rely on other incomes. The only other incomes that the primary they have are questionable research. And the other side of it is
international students.
International students, because they're not regulated under the tuition, so they can jack up the international student rates and flood international.
So
students.
Am I allowed to ask
in
about
a-
this questionable research? Because when you say questionable research, I picture like human experimentation kind of shit.
I think he and I may.
Let's
differ on
infect this
It's,
person with cancer and see what happens.
Not all of it-
questionable
not,
research.
Not all of it's questionable. It's just the direct ties.
Well, more of a. He's talking less research, more corporate backed research.
Oh, okay.
Which which does have a problem, because I mean, why should the government socialize private industry research? But then again, you can say there's arguments on both sides of this one.
Sure.
However, I do think that it's not a great move saying, yeah, tuition's down 10%. The university's going where we can get the money. Go fuck yourselves where we get the money.
You cut
That-
costs.
that's the problem.
No, but you
here's
cut
the thing.
costs.
They've
so then
been
you
in
make
the-
bigger
they've
class
been in
sizes than
this-
they already.
But
Not
they've
even
been
necessarily that.
But the problem is universities
That's the only
have
option.
been cutting costs. Post-secondary funding has been down across the board consistently year over year for the past 20 years.
I'm still calling bullshit.
No,
There was the
no,
head
no,
of-
no,
the
no.
Head
You
of the
can look
engineering
that up.
department, head of the engineering department at UWO or King's or Queen, whatever, in that area, was being paid $1 million a year to be the head of that department.
Yeah, because-
bullshit. You don't need that.
Sure you do. If you want to get somebody in engineering who's any good to teach people, you got to compete with the private sector.
I
on
will
that.
agree with you. There on that.
There's efficiencies there, but at the same
there's
time-
efficiencies there, but it's nowhere near the amount of stuff they've been cutting. It's something like 50%
Look at
of classes are taught by part-time faculty with PhDs. There's postdocs that make $30,000 a year. They've cut costs to ridiculous levels. That's actually fundamentally
They
hurting.
fire
the
you after
education
2
system.
years, so you're not allowed to join the union. I mean, for that one example you throw out for the one guy making $1 million.
Yeah.
That's usually because they got in while they could. Everyone else now, fuck you. That's kind of what the mentality's been.
Okay. All right.
And the concept of tenure is basically gone.
Yeah.
And tenure, while it has some issues,
Tenure has
is-
a lot of flaws.
It has a lot of flaws.
It has a lot of flaws, but fundamentally, it's a good thing, because the reality of tenure is professors are allowed to do research and say things.
Okay, so we're talking about kind of steering back towards
Yeah, fair
what
enough.
the Ford government's been doing. I mean, there's been a lot of problems with university funding.
Yes.
Because I think that although yes, and I think it's the same way with healthcare a lot of the times, we look south of the border and go, at least we're not Americans. That doesn't mean we're doing a good job. That just means at least we're not doing the American system.
Exactly,
That's all it means.
Still a heck of a lot of
At least we
room
didn't
for
fuck up that bad. Well, that's
Exactly.
not a good comparison.
Yeah, we're better than the American system. That is not a high bar.
That's like living in a dumpster and looking at a dumpster that's on fire, going, at least we're not in that dumpster.
Exactly.
I mean, come on, you're still in a fucking dumpster at some
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
You know, I think this feels very mean spirited, is what it comes down to. It feels like an ideological cut. I mean,
100%.
it feels like.
It feels like
This
a government that
is
does not
an
value
ideological-
post-secondary education, or
Which
just,
of course they don't, because look at their base. Most of their,
hey,
They're converting.
I'm sorry, Mike, but facts are facts.
They're converting, and the problem is they're converting a lot of these grants over to loans, which is also ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Because
If you were promised one thing, you can't pull the rug out from something.
not when people are halfway through the university career.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're saying we have a trajectory, you're expecting X, Y, and Z for paying, you've made these plans, and now you're like, oh no, you're gonna reverse. Like my wife, this is what we're running into. You know, we're getting grants and stuff, we're taking grant only options because it's for her, so because it's helping
You
us.
don't need a grant to major in protesting and welfare fraud.
No.
exactly, yeah.
But you do in biological anthropology and genetics.
Social justice, the social justice degree.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing, right? Like
How to be professionally offended. 101.
Exactly.
yeah, no, and that's the thing. Like one of the things that this is cutting is it's not affecting the students that's majoring in underwater basket weaving and living off of bank mom and dad and getting an extra cut. That's not what
Which
it's
is a
actually cutting.
stereotypical
Yeah.
thing they always quote, but
Yeah.
the reality is those students aren't the ones who are racking up the debt.
1 in 5 students are mature students with families.
Yeah.
In the Ontario student system. So it's not actually over stuff. It's fucking over people who are actually trying to do the quote unquote American dream, the most conservative thing that's out there. They're literally pulling the rug out from under them and saying, no, you can't get education. You can't afford it. You stay a humble wage slave.
Wage slave, yeah.
Jinx.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I'm someone who's going through post-secondary education right now, and I am married with kids. Like, I've been married for 10 years. I've got 6 children, and I'm going through post-secondary education. Believe it or not, I'm doing it through the American system. I'm not doing it at any Canadian university because
Jesus Freedom Eagle University is not allowed to operate up here
because it's cheaper for me to do it through the States online through correspondence.
For some degrees, that's possible, but when you do something like biological anthropology, where you have to use an anatomy lab with bones in it to do your stuff, to start analyzing and doing.
I'm getting a business degree. I'm getting a business degree.
That's fine. And we should move to more of that model. That's an educational issue.
But we can't sit here and scream about how we're falling behind on education on one hand, and then not fund it on the other. I mean, that's very.
And especially when you're creating a situation where the ones who go to education are the highest educated. You know who comes up with original ideas? It's not the person who didn't struggle. It's the person who worked their ass off to get somewhere and has figured it out along the way. That's the person who looks back and goes, we should fix that problem. That whole not having proper water and sanitation, maybe that's why all my family was getting sick, and then they, built sewers, right? Like, those are the kind of people who
or they were
fix
getting
stuff.
sick from listening to this podcast.
Yeah, that
we'll never know.
That's more likely, I think. Yeah. I mean, but the other piece of it, though, as well, and I mean, I want to be sensitive to this as well, there is a limited amount of resources. So, I mean, can we afford to be funding education?
Well, but the thing is that, yes, if there is a genuine crisis, then, I agree. There are finite resources.
The problem. They found the money to increase their rental subsidy by 20%.
They did, yeah.
And, buck a beer, bitches, happen.
Also buck a beer.
So I mean, there are. It's less about we only have so much money to go around, and more about how we're spending that money. I think education is one of those things that is just a good investment. If you have a well-educated, well-diverse society, especially when looking at STEM education, but also we've spent, the last 20 years devaluing the whole concept of liberal arts, and then we're shocked that kids don't have soft skills anymore.
Yeah.
You remember that conversation?
I do remember that. That was a fantastic conversation.
But I mean, you can't just sit there and just devalue. Problem is that when they started going, okay, STEM, like math, science, all that sort of thing, and said devaluing liberal arts education, are we really surprised that they start devaluing the concept of education shortly after? So when you start saying, we don't want certain kinds of education, it's not a far cry to say you don't value education, period. If you cannot see the value in it.
I mean, if they take the money that they're saving from this and put it toward revamping elementary and high school education, because there's a lot of holes there, to basically get people better equipped to qualify for things like scholarships for universities or whatever.
They won't.
Yeah. You're right, they won't. But I mean, that would be my dream, is that they would basically take the saved monies and put them toward, like, for example, there is a hard skill that nobody's learning in elementary or high school. It's computer coding. And
they are now. They've started introducing it.
Yeah, but it's not a required course. It's a thing. Oh, do you want to take
I don't think
no,
everyone.
like, this is,
I don't think everyone should be doing computer programming.
But hold up, give it 10 years. That's the equivalent of reading and writing. Like,
I think learning things like Excel Microsoft Office or typing, that should all be required.
Yes,
I really think even that is going to, like, GIS would be where.
But you don't need to, and this is where, and I'll take kind of the final thought on this one, just education, kind of going off on a bit of a tangent too. Like, I keep seeing like these people posting videos of like the new math going, LOL, that is so stupid. I can do it's like, but then I always go, yeah, but are you good at math? Well, no. Well, how did you learn? The old way. But you're not good at math.
So
see, we don't teach theory. This is what it comes down to. Our education system has all been designed to work on memorizing by rote, not learning the theory behind numbers and everything. Sorry, it's a bit of a tangent there. I understand.
I'm 100% agreeing with him.
You're twitching.
I am twitching. I am right now tutoring a young girl who's struggling under this new math thing.
Yep, and unfortunately, we are out of time.
I can't help her with her homework because she's bringing home this crap. I'm like, what the hell is this?
But that's not a failing of the system. That just means you don't understand it.
No. I had multiple conversations with her teacher to be like, it doesn't matter if you get the right answer as long as you know what you're doing. What? That's the new math.
That's actually math.
Actually, I think that's correct. Anyway, so we are out of time.
What's wrong with you two?
We are out of time. I just want to thank all listeners for bearing with us at this point. If you're enjoying the show, make sure you check out our website, trueandchange.ca.
Please tune into this bonus that's coming. I'm telling you right now.
Also, make sure you're continuing to listen to our show, Spotify, iTunes, Podbeans, and hey, if you're enjoying the show, tell your friends.
And you know what?
Share this on Facebook.
Our last episode, didn't Josh put up a blog post about alcoholic jizz? So
Nope,
go read
not
that.
yet. Not yet. It's still in research phase.
Research phase.
It's going to be well written.
Yeah,
well-written-
He's asking his wife to do research, and she keeps saying no. Anyway, for Two and Change, I'm Tim.
I'm Mike.
We'll see you next time.
We did research that night.
Research that
Oh,
night.
you did?
But now-
Nice.
And apparently, so alcohol,
bro. Yeah.
alcohol gets into jizz, but
yeah.
a day later.
So we're actually trying to figure out.
Also, research guys, do a shot. Okay, 20 minutes later. Come on, honey.
Exactly.
So
I'm telling you.
we legit actually have my wife going to ask her prof on.
I want to be a fly on the wall for that conversation. Professor, do you think alcohol can show up in jizz?
Gee, I don't know.
Studies maternity and sexual reproduction.
You didn't specify what animal, so is your problem.
Your mileage may vary.
I'm sorry, it's the interior leather thing.
I was actually going to have you make an animal noise, but
Interior is real leather.
On the tarp.
okay.
All right, fair enough.
We've fully converted you.
Hang on, I'm mixing it with Diet Coke.
We have fully
Well, it's a swivel chair now.
It is.
That's part of the problem.
We're
I agree.
swiveling.
Your line again.
My line again.
We've fully converted you.
I'm gonna give Tim a heart attack. This is great. He's going.
Fucking amateurs.
Which
Righto.
okay. Anyways, Hamburger